Welcome to Payback with Silas. Every day, a new story, lies, betrayal, payback. Let's begin.
You should be grateful. There are 10 others who would kill to have your job. That's what Camille said the last time I asked for a raise. Camille Worthington, my boss, regional director of Stratwell and Keene, a boutique consulting firm in downtown Seattle. On paper, she's the kind of leader Forbes writes puff pieces about. Trailblazing executive, visionary woman in leadership, a role model in male-dominated industries. Behind closed doors, a cold strategist with a talent for manipulation and a habit of reminding people how replaceable they are. I've been with Stratwell for nearly a decade. I joined when the office had 5 people and shared one copy machine that jammed every other day. I was the guy who stayed late, covered gaps, picked up accounts no one wanted. For the last 4 years, I've been managing 3 key accounts: Clarion Biotech, Enders and Royce Financial, and Haven Aerospace, single-handedly. All 3 of them brought in over 60% of our revenue last quarter. That's not a guess. I ran the numbers myself. And I still couldn't get a raise. Every time I asked, it was the same deflection. Budgets are tight right now, Dorian. We'll revisit this next quarter, Dorian. Let's focus on your growth before talking compensation, Dorian. My name is Dorian Hale, and I made the mistake of assuming loyalty meant something. I thought hard work would speak for itself. I thought Camille saw me as more than just another employee ID on a spreadsheet. But the truth is, Camille only respected fear. And I wasn't scary. I was dependable. So I stayed. Quiet. Professional. I kept showing up. Until one day, something inside me cracked. It was a Wednesday afternoon in late March. The kind of gray, bone-damp day Seattle specializes in. I was 2 hours into building a strategic roadmap for Haven's expansion when I got a message on LinkedIn. A recruiter from Alton Caldwell Group. Big name, East Coast firm expanding west. They'd seen my profile, they were impressed, and they were hiring. I didn't say yes right away. I sat with it. Thought it over. But the more I did, the more something sharpened inside me, not bitterness, not anger. Just clarity. I was done waiting for Camille's approval like a dog waiting for table scraps. So I did something radical. I told the truth. I sent Camille a polite email, short, direct, transparent. I'd been approached by a reputable firm. Out of courtesy, I was letting her know I intended to take the interview. I even said I wasn't planning to leave, just exploring options. Her response came 20 minutes later. No greeting. No punctuation. Consider this your resignation. She didn't wait to hear the outcome. Didn't ask a single question. An hour later, security showed up at my desk. They walked me out like I was a threat. Like I hadn't given 10 years of my life to that company. One of the guards, Carl, looked uncomfortable. He'd seen me bring donuts every Friday for the whole floor for the last 6 months. I didn't fight it. I didn't say anything dramatic. I just turned to Camille as I passed her office and said, "Good luck." That's it. No sarcasm. No venom. Just a clean goodbye. What Camille didn't know was this: my resignation wouldn't be the end. It would be the beginning of hers. 5 days. That's how long it took before Camille called me. Not HR. Not legal. Camille herself. I wasn't surprised. Honestly, I thought it might take longer. The first 3 days were quiet, which was exactly what I wanted. I slept in for the first time in months. Went for long walks around Lake Union. Drank coffee that wasn't in a paper cup with my name spelled wrong. And most importantly, I waited. Because I knew something she didn't. Camille thought I was just another cog in the machine. What she didn't realize was, I was the machine. Every major client relationship in my portfolio wasn't built through cold decks or pitch decks. It was me. Late night calls. Weekend meetings. Handwritten thank you notes. Remembering their kids' names, their hobbies, their little tells. Camille never once showed up to those meetings. Not once. But she still put her name on the invoices like she earned that revenue herself. So when I left, I didn't reach out to any of them. I didn't have to. Day 4, I got a message from Elise from Haven Aerospace. Just heard the news. Say it isn't true? I replied with a polite smile emoji and nothing else. No details. No pitch. Just a whisper of absence. That's all it took. By the end of the day, 2 other clients had messaged me on my personal cell. One of them, Clarion Biotech, told me they'd canceled their upcoming quarterly review. Said they wanted to pause and reassess the partnership. I didn't say a word. Just nodded to myself and finished my coffee. And then came day 5. It was 8:17 a.m. I remember the exact time because I was watching the fog roll in through my apartment window, listening to Coltrane, when my phone lit up. Camille. I stared at the name for a full 10 seconds before I picked up. Her voice was sharp, tight, like someone trying to sound calm while holding in a scream. Dorian! What the hell is going on? I didn't answer right away. Let the silence stretch just enough to let her hear her own panic. We just got word Clarion's pulling out. Haven's not returning calls. Anders and Royce canceled their retainer. They all had you as point of contact. What are you telling them? I took a sip of my coffee. Nothing. What do you mean nothing? I mean I haven't said a single word to any of them. She went quiet. Then why are they all leaving? I waited a beat. Then said, maybe they're just looking for somewhere they feel valued. You could hear the wheels turning. Her power slipping, one client at a time. For someone like Camille, it wasn't the money that scared her, it was the loss of control. People weren't supposed to leave her. Not clients. And definitely not employees. She finally said, if you come back now, we can talk. Let's be adults about this. I almost laughed. Now she wanted to talk. Now she wanted to be adults. When I told her about an interview, she had me thrown out like a thief. And now she wanted a meeting? No. Too late. So I told her the truth, same way I did the first time. Camille, I gave you 10 years. You gave me 10 excuses. I'm not coming back. She tried to say something else, but I hung up. Quietly. Calmly. I didn't need to yell. Her empire was already crumbling. And I hadn't even lifted a finger. 3 hours after I hung up on Camille, I got a call from Alton Caldwell. Not the recruiter this time. It was Russell Vane, senior partner. Name on the letterhead. The kind of guy who doesn't call unless there's something real on the table. His voice was low, confident, and direct. Dorian Hale, he said. I heard you just became available. I smiled. So the news was traveling. That's one way to put it. Russell didn't waste time. Said he'd been following my work through some mutual contacts for over a year. He knew the names of the clients I'd managed, how long I'd been holding down revenue that should have been handled by an entire team. And then he said something Camille never once said in 10 years. You're the kind of person we build around. That hit me harder than I expected. Not because I needed the praise, but because I'd gone so long without hearing anything close to it. I'd almost convinced myself I didn't need it. He flew me out to San Francisco the next day. Business class. Car waiting at the gate. The office was in a glass tower overlooking the bay, modern, open floor plan, but without the artificial startup culture crap. People actually seemed like they wanted to be there. I met the leadership team. Spoke with their director of strategy, their CFO, even the head of talent acquisition. And for the first time in a long, long time, I didn't have to prove my worth. They already knew. When they made the offer, they didn't dance around numbers or budget limitations. No fake humility. No tests. They handed me a full executive package, salary double what I'd been making, performance bonuses, stock options, relocation stipend, and full authority to build out my own strategy team. But it wasn't just the money. It was the line at the end of the contract that stopped me cold. Title: Director, Strategic Partnerships, Western Division. Director. The exact title I'd asked Camille for. 4 years in a row. 4 years of. Not yet, Dorian. 4 years of. You're not quite ready. And here was a team I just met giving it to me without a second guess. I signed the offer that night. The next morning, my LinkedIn quietly updated. I didn't post a long announcement. No hashtags. No humble brag. Just one clean sentence. Excited to begin my next chapter with Alton Caldwell. It didn't need to be loud. The right people would hear it anyway. By noon, my inbox was a war zone, ex-colleagues, recruiters, even 2 people still working under Camille. Messages like, "Wait, Alton? How? Asterisk. Dorian, I thought she fired you? Can we talk? I'm thinking of leaving too." And tucked between all of them, one new message. From Elise at Haven Aerospace. "We'd like to move our account to Alton Caldwell. Can you make that happen?" I stared at it for a long time. Then I opened a clean reply window and typed 2 words. Absolutely. Welcome. Camille once told me I'd never make it without her. She was wrong. Camille always believed fear kept people loyal. Keep them just insecure enough, just undervalued enough, and they'll stay. That was her formula. Her version of leadership. But fear has a short shelf life. Especially once someone shows you there's another way to live. It started small. Quiet. The first resignation came from Briar Jameson, junior account lead, young, whip-smart, and criminally underutilized. She'd been doing senior-level work for years but was still sitting at the same desk with the same title and the same, "Maybe next quarter," promises. She sent me a message 2 days after my LinkedIn update. Just said, "Seeing you leave like that? It made something click. I just gave my notice." I hadn't asked her to. Hadn't even hinted. She just saw the truth. The same way I finally had. Within a week, 2 more followed, Ravi, our lead analyst, and Nina from legal. All had their own reasons, but one common thread: Camille's house of cards was built on silence. And once one card fell, the rest followed like gravity. Word got around fast. Stratwell's clients were pulling out. The team was bleeding talent. And worst of all, Camille had no one left to blame but herself. I got wind of a meeting she held, a mandatory staff alignment session, which was corporate speak for panic room. My former colleague sent me a recording. She looked like a shadow of herself, hair tighter, tone clipped, hands twitching slightly as she flipped through slides trying to prove the ship wasn't sinking. But people weren't stupid. They saw what I saw. They just needed permission to admit it. Here's the thing Camille never understood. Respect doesn't come from dominance. It comes from trust. From consistency. From the quiet kind of leadership that doesn't need to be loud to be effective. She burned bridges thinking no one would dare cross the water. Now the water was rising. And no one was building her a lifeboat. Meanwhile, at Alton Caldwell, I was thriving. I was assigned a team of 5, smart, curious, hungry. No one afraid to speak. No one looking over their shoulder. And the craziest part? People actually thanked me for my feedback. They wanted to grow. They weren't waiting to be rescued, they were building. One day over lunch, my VP leaned over and said, "I don't know what the hell Stratwell was thinking letting you go. Their loss, right?" I just smiled. I didn't need revenge. I just needed peace. And every time Camille lost someone else, that peace grew louder. It was a Thursday. Late afternoon. My team had just wrapped a huge pitch for a new aerospace firm out of Denver. We nailed it, clean, efficient, every variable covered. I was heading out when my phone buzzed. Caller ID. No caller ID. Normally, I don't answer those. But something told me to pick up. "Dorian?" "Camille." Her voice, restrained, tight, but trying to sound casual. Like we were 2 old colleagues catching up. Like she hadn't had me escorted out by security 2 weeks earlier. I leaned against the glass wall of the office lobby and just said, "Camille." She paused. I could hear her swallow. Then came the line, the one I never thought I'd hear from her. "I want to make you an offer to come back." No apology. No acknowledgement of how she treated me. Just straight to business. We're restructuring. I'd like you to return in a senior role. VP of Strategic Accounts. We'll match your current salary and add a performance bonus. You'll have full autonomy. I almost laughed. Now she wanted to talk titles. Now she wanted to talk salary. Now that the walls were closing in, I stayed quiet. She took that as a sign to keep talking. Look, I know things didn't end well. But the company needs stability right now. We need someone clients trust. You built this foundation, Dorian. Come back and finish what you started. Finish what I started? I started by asking for fairness. For recognition. For decency. She finished it, with a cold email and a security escort. I spoke slowly, so she could hear every word. You don't get to fire someone, humiliate them, and then offer a bribe when the house starts burning. Another pause. I misread the situation, she said. You're valuable. You always have been. I couldn't see it at the time. It was the closest thing to an apology I'd ever get from her. But it was also too late. There's something funny about dignity. Once you remember you have it, you never forget again. So I told her. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, Camille. You're offering me things I don't need anymore. Because someone already gave them to me, before the fire. Her voice cracked just a little. Is there anything I can say to change your mind? I looked out at the street. People walking by. The kind of calm you don't notice until you've survived chaos. Yeah, I said. You could try saying thank you. For everything I built. For holding it all together while you took the credit. She didn't respond. Just silence. And then the line went dead. She didn't call again. And I didn't need her to. The first headline dropped on a Monday morning. It was subtle, a trade publication most people in the consulting world follow but rarely talk about. But I knew the moment I read it that things were about to get loud. Stradwell and Keene facing major client departures amidst internal shakeup. The article didn't name names, but it didn't need to. Any insider knew who those key accounts were. And anyone who'd followed Stradwell's recent moves could connect the dots. I scrolled through it slowly, sipping my coffee like it was just another ordinary day. But inside I felt something new, not glee, not gloating, closure. Camille had always been obsessed with perception. Her image was her currency. And now, the world was seeing the cracks. By Wednesday, the story hit larger platforms. Now it was leadership crisis at Stradwell and Keene, and Camille's name was in bold. Quotes from anonymous sources talked about mismanagement, toxic culture, and mass resignations. Someone even leaked the fact that their head of legal, Nana, walked out after being denied PTO for her father's funeral. I didn't leak anything. I didn't have to. She built this with her own hands. I got texts from old colleagues all week. Did you see the article? I swear she's falling apart in real time. Your exit was the first domino. And maybe it was. But I didn't want to be known for how I left. I wanted to be known for what I built after. At Alton Caldwell, my team was expanding. Elise from Haven officially signed a multi-year deal with us, and Clarion Biotech wasn't far behind. I was hiring people Camille overlooked, Briar, Ravi, bringing them into an environment where they could breathe, speak, thrive. One afternoon, I sat in a strategy meeting, looking around the table at my new team, and it hit me. This was what I'd been waiting for all those years. Not a raise. Not a title. A place that didn't make me prove I deserved to be respected. Back in Seattle, Camille tried damage control. A LinkedIn post full of vague affirmations. Challenges bring opportunities. Change is never easy. Leadership means learning. But the comments told a different story. So sorry to hear about the turnover. Any comment on why half your executive team left in 2 weeks? Maybe start treating people better? It was all unraveling. Camille used to control the narrative. Now the narrative was writing itself. And the most satisfying part? I didn't touch a single thread. It was a Friday morning when I got the message. Not from Camille. From someone still working at Stratwell, well, formerly working there. It happened! The board removed her. Effective immediately. I stared at the screen for a few seconds. Not out of shock, but because of the poetry of it. No fanfare. No farewell memo. Just a cold internal notice, signed off by the board's legal counsel. Effective July 5th, Camille Worthington is no longer employed by Stratwell and Keene. No mention of her decade of leadership. No thank you. Just silence, the corporate version of exile. Apparently, it wasn't even a conversation. The firm's private equity backers had seen enough: revenue hemorrhaging, public embarrassment, key clients fleeing, talent drained. She wasn't an asset anymore. She was a liability. So they did what she once did to me. Security walked her out. One of the newer interns, someone I'd never even met, sent me a DM on LinkedIn. Dude, she looked like a ghost. Didn't say a word. Just grabbed her bag and left. She didn't get the goodbye speech she always imagined. No applause. No bouquet. Just a closed door behind her. And the best part? No one followed. Not a single person tried to defend her. Because by then they all knew. Camille was never the reason the company worked. She was just the one standing in front of the people who did. I thought back to the moment she fired me. Her voice like steel. That blank stare as she typed. Consider this your resignation. I wondered if the board used the same line. And if they did, I hoped they didn't even use a comma. Back at Alton Caldwell, I was getting ready to speak at our West Coast Leadership Summit. My first keynote. Topic: Retention through respect, why loyalty is earned, not demanded. Funny how life works. I was once told I should be grateful to even have a job. Now I was being asked to teach leaders how not to lose people like me. I walked onto that stage in a navy suit, calm and steady, as the room of 200 executives fell quiet. And I opened with this. I was fired for taking an interview. Now I lead the division that absorbed the clients who left with me. Silence. Then applause. Not for revenge. For dignity. It's been 6 months since Camille was removed. 6 months since the calls stopped, since the headlines moved on, since Stratwell became just another cautionary tale whispered in industry conferences. And me? I'm good. Really good. My division at Alton Caldwell is thriving. We expanded to Los Angeles and Denver. I built a team of 30, half of them people who, like me, were overlooked, underestimated, or dismissed by places that confused silence with loyalty. Now they're building strategy roadmaps, pitching billion-dollar clients, speaking on panels. And the best part? I don't micromanage. I don't posture. I lead the way I wish someone had led me. Last week, Elise from Haven Aerospace told me, "You're not like most execs." I just smiled. That's because I remember what it feels like to be invisible. At home, life is simple. I moved out of the cramped apartment I once called temporary. Got a place in Queen and with tall windows, quiet neighbors, and a view of the water. Some nights, I sit on the balcony with a glass of red and watch the ferries glide across the sound. It's peaceful. Still. No spreadsheets. No deadlines. No one watching the clock behind me. Every now and then, someone brings up Camille. Usually with a smirk. Remember when she tried to claw you back? Or, wild that she thought you'd actually return. I just shrug. Because here's the truth. I don't think about her anymore. Not with anger. Not even with satisfaction. I think of her the same way I think of a storm that already passed. Messy, loud, unforgettable, but done. And me? I didn't burn anything down. I just walked out. And I let gravity handle the rest. Turns out, sometimes the loudest revenge isn't vengeance at all. It's living well. Quietly. Proudly. And finally free.